there's some things we really need to consider, and contaminated soil is probably one of them. That puts a really big
Hurdle.
potential hurdle.
Have we gotten any information on the disaster relief funding that the city's looking at yet? I know like the draft spend plans have been finalized, but we don't.
I haven't heard anything. Who's working on it?
It's the Pacific States Marine Fisheries Commission.
Oh, I thought you said the city was working on it.
Well, no, the city gets a chunk of money from them.
Yeah, but I thought you meant,
I was just curious if they had heard if like how much the city was gonna get. Cause like we got it in 2016, but it went into this project. So,
and our $1,500 for cod.
yeah.
1630.
Oh, 1630, sorry. Oh, I ripped them off. We're ready? Are you ready, Dave?
I'm ready if he's got the Zoom ready, everything's ready to go.
You're rolling.
Okay. Is Tina ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call the regular meeting of March 20th, 2024 at 7 PM to order. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Tina.
Mayor Allison,
Here.
Tom Baylor,
Here.
Kathy Sherman is absent. Casey Kinsman,
Here.
Wendy Rainey,
Here.
Ann Schaefer,
Here.
Kristen Carpenter,
Here.
Ken Jones.
Here.
That's a quorum of council.
Any objection to the approval of the regular agenda? I do not think we meant to put the
Yeah.
executive session on there again. That's April 16th is when we said we were gonna next visit that. Any objection? Hearing none, the agenda will be approved. Any disclosures of conflicts of interest and ex parte communications? Hearing none. Communications by and petitions from visitors. We don't have any guest speakers. So audience comments regarding agenda items. Anybody? Seeing none. Chairpersons and representatives of boards and commissions. I don't see anybody from hospital board. School board is having their own meeting tonight. And no other people here, so we'll move along then. Don't have a student council report. So the consent calendar is before you. I'm gonna call the roll on the,
Ann Schaefer on the
Yes.
consent calendar.
Oh, yes.
Tom Baylor,
Yes.
Kristen Carpenter,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman is absent. Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Ken Jones,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey.
Yes.
Consent calendar is approved.
okay, thank you. We don't have any, well, the minutes were in the consent calendar. We don't have any bids or proposals, so it takes us down to reports of officers. The mayor's report, I've got a short written report in there. If you've been paying attention to what the state's been up to, they're not having too good a luck yet with having agreement with the governor on school funding. It was the 680 increase to the BSA and some other internet monies and some other funds were all vetoed by the governor. And the legislature failed to override that by one vote. So it's back on the legislature's court to come up with something different. They were gonna have to come up with funding for what they did pass anyway. So, Councilmember Kinsman and I attended the school board's workshop last night, going over their budget and what it might look like if there is no increase to the BSA, and it was like 1.7 million,
0.5.
1.5 short of what they consider their baseline. The BSA would have to increase $1,980 per pupil to keep up with inflation since 2017. So there has been no increase since 2017. So, they've got increases just like everybody else does. Their insurance is telling them maybe a 30%, 25 to 30% increase this year. They haven't got their quote yet, but that's a potential. They have to pay the additional electric just like we do and everybody else in town does. So, they've got increased costs whether or not, no matter what they do. So, they're looking at cutting some teachers, maybe cutting out food service, maybe cutting out all extracurricular activities. The potential, those are where the big money's at, other than, teachers, I think, what did he say, 78% or something like? 75 to 80% of their funds go to instructional, which is teachers. So, that would, their proposal or their possibilities were, drop a math teacher from the high school, not have 2 6th grade teachers, not have 2 kindergarten teachers. So, it could be pretty serious. So anyway, I guess the bottom line to all of that is, we did write letters to the governor and to the legislature to override his veto. We did get responses back from many of those letters, and even the folks in the legislature that were not from our district were appreciative of getting comments and encourage us to keep trying or keep on them, keep on everybody. And I think the last sentence in a couple of them was, "We're not done yet." So I think there's big support in the legislature to at least do up to the 680 if they can get the governor's stuff in there that he wants, so that he wouldn't veto it. He wasn't against the 680. He just wanted his other pet things in there, and it wasn't. So he's kind of using that as leverage. So I'm more confident than maybe some that something will come around. Some on the school board, and I'm not sure if the superintendent's very confident that something will happen, but we'll deal with what we can do. It is a possibility that the city could fund more than the cap if some of the things don't count towards the cap. Like, they're gonna find out for sure from, I guess, Juneau and Valdez both had some fighting with the state, for lack of a better term, discussions with the state on they had paid more and the state was trying to get more money out of them, or trying to claw back some of that money, because they had given more than the minimum was, but they said, no, that extra went towards this, and the superintendent's pretty sure that all went through, but he was gonna find out for sure what could count, and we assured them that we're not saying that we've got a bunch of extra money, but But it is possible that, you know, if it came down to it and the community wanted food service for the kids, for example, and not to drop that program, then there's a possibility there that we may be able to figure out ways to help them. But I think the biggest way the community can help this point in time is to continue writing letters to the governor and all of the legislators. And it's easy to do. You can go to the LIO or come down to the clerk's office, and Tina or Susan can help you distribute that. It's pretty easy to get to everybody pretty quick. So it doesn't have to be a long letter. In fact, I think we made ours relatively short so that they'd actually read it. And I think many did. We did, like I said, we did get some responses. So anyway, this school funding is gonna be a big deal. I think there's still some other things in the whole budget that could provide some money to us, revenue sharing and other such things. You know, they're I would say they're just starting their budget process down there. They just went out to public comments on it anyway, so. Anyway, so that's been taking up some time. I did meet with the superintendent and the board chair individually about a week ago during spring break. And we discussed their budget and their options. But like I said, even the 680 BSA had 900,000 in cuts that they were gonna have to find. And that's people or whole programs. You can't get rid of half of your food service. You could get rid of individual activities. Activities is all encompassing. It's not just sports, but it's, robotics and music and all those extracurricular activities. So anyway, write letters to the legislature sooner than later, because they're really trying to iron something out with the governor's office and themselves sooner than later. But I think the legislature as a whole, almost overriding his veto by only one vote short, is leads me to think that they're all relatively supportive of some kind of increase. They understand that everybody has their increases, and at least we're not looking at $100 million hole like Anchorage is. So anyway,
It's relative.
Yeah.
probably not relative, but
Time.
anyway, guess unless you have any questions, I don't have much else
Thanks for getting those
to
letters.
report. Yeah, we had talked about,
Yeah.
maybe a resolution, but they were, by the time we get a resolution here tonight, it's all
Mhm.
water under the bridge at this point in time, so. Anyway, next up was the manager's report.
Okay, I have been working on the heavy equipment, or I've submitted the heavy equipment to, Suits. Or to AML, it's going through AML, sorry, as a big submittal. So I put in every piece of heavy equipment from Public Works that I could come up with. And finalizing the Murkowskis, I'm gonna try and do the, public safety building. We kind of don't have a lot of, info yet, but I think it's good to get on the table, see what we have. I've also been working with Agnew Beck on a grant for sewer. We've narrowed it down to maybe what we're gonna apply for. And we'll see how that goes. Gavin and Michael are here from Altman Rogers. We're prepping for the audit. Audit scheduled for May 20th here. And I'm also still working with the finance department, trying to get through those software issues, trying to figure out how we're gonna make that work. We'll probably have some more discussion on that. We will have more discussion on that coming up in the next meeting or so. So just so you all know, it's in here, but at 10:20 on 327, the siren might go off, your TVs might go off, the radio might go off. Because it's a statewide test for tsunami warnings. And it's funny because in the actual write-up, I don't know if it's funny, but they say they might forget to put tests, so people might be unaware. Oh, that would be bad. So we'll just we'll get the word out as much as we can. We'll get it up on the webpage. Also, and here's the airport project, which is coming in a while. It's still a while out for the actual construction. This is the open house part of it. But I think between that, Second Street, White Shed, there's gonna be some asphalt in town. And we should really be putting some money somewhere and thinking about what we want to do there, because it's here, they're here. It's gonna be the best, the cheapest way to get asphalt. So with that, I'll let Colin and Kim, who's our engineer, the greatest engineer,
Good
give
evening.
me update.
Here with Kim Nielsen, professional engineer, president of Alaska Harbors, and the brains behind our operation. So if you have real questions, that's who I ask. So she's here for questions. I'll give my report and then we'll open it up for questions. Okay, so construction continues. We got the last two barges here. They're offloading them where they were about an hour ago. So we do have all the materials here now. Demo is complete, design complete. Our Class A take of sea otters is at about 4 of 30. So we're still well on track to stay under the number of 30. Race grant fully executed. We are on our 6th submittal for reimbursement for 4.55 million. I just submitted again this evening. The list of needs from MARAD are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So that's a good thing. It's trending into positive territory. If there's one upside from taking all this time to get our reimbursements, is that in that time, we were able to grow our first reimbursement. So initially, if it was $2 million and it was going to take a month or 2 months, it was going to take a long time to whittle down 20 million. But now that we've got 4.55 million for the first submittal, we get reimbursed that 4.5 because so much time has elapsed. We'll be able to spend another 4.5 and put in for reimbursement on that. So we'll be able to take bigger chunks out of that 20 million. And so, try to find the upside to it. That's a good thing, that we're not just, taking little $2 million bites out of it. So more to follow on that. 20.971 million spent to date. There's 1.1 million remaining in our tier 1 grant and $25,000 in our sewer pump out loan that's pending. We can tap into that as soon as that's finalized. Overall notes, southwest corner and Nikoloff is still closed. For the vessels, we are trying to get them back into the same or as close to the same slip as possible as their old slip, provided that their length is the right length for the right slip size, which brings me to my other point. The Harbor Master's Office is remeasuring boats for length overall, LOA, and that's from stem to stern, or actually stem to the outermost portion of your vessel, to include outdrives, outboard motors. Things that are temporary, like anchors, like skiffs and things like that, that aren't designed to be on there that you can take off easily, those do not count towards your LOA. But we're trying to get everything lined up because some people were undersized, some people were oversized, and make sure people are paying for what their boat requires. We've also got electrical testing equipment in and more coming. We've got a plan to have a public outreach opportunity probably at right around the next Harbor Commission meeting, not tomorrow, but the next month. So people can come in and learn how that's going to work and how their vessel may or may not pass the new electrical code with the harbor. So we'll have at least one person there who's an electrician and who understands the systems and can tell us what to expect and what the other harbors, Valdez, what they've experienced, because that's not the easiest transition to have your boat match what the upgrades are to the electrical grid. So There will be growing pains there for sure, but we're trying to get as much information out and just let people know that it's coming. And should be in the next, I'd say 3 weeks to a month, we'll have that. Dates we're tracking, serves is scheduled to begin April 25th. Our goal is to have slips available before that and, move as many people as we can out of the North Harbor, get those finger floats put back in the North Harbor and get boats put into as many slips as possible. It may take getting creative on the new harbor, depending on the draft and overall size of the vessels, like what we could fit where, but we want to just get both harbors as functional as we can. So we're aiming for the 22nd of April to have boats and slips. It's looking okay, but we had a 2-week delay with this barge due to weather, so we're going to do our best. Fishing season, obviously 15 May, and we're looking at a completion date of mid to late June. A lot of the J&K floats have wire run for electrical, and all the potable water lines have been run on J&K. They've air tested them, but they haven't hooked them up to the supply side yet. So that's all I have pending your questions for me or for Kim.
Let's go back to your end in June timeline. Is that power, all the stuff, that's
Everything,
water, all the-
Everything mid to late June.
Okay.
That's the goal.
Okay.
That's been the goal all along. So, it's boats in before the fishing season starts,
Right.
which I think we're still comfortable and confident that we'll be able to accommodate boats. But they just won't have, services throughout. Like maybe J&K will, maybe H will, we're
Right.
just trying to work through the 2-week delay to weather. So it's all here now and we're going to get after it.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we still haven't gotten a reimbursement from MARAD.
Correct.
How are you doing cash flow wise? We did the,
Tapped out.
so
Mhm.
is there, what can we do at this point?
Honestly, I don't know, and I don't know anybody who knows. We just keep grinding along and hoping that it comes back to us. And there is nobody that understands how this process works. Nobody. There's no list, there's no checklist, there's no, this is how you do it, these are the documents we need, nothing. We spent, I've spent close to $20 million of funds with, I won't say restrictions, but requirements for reimbursement. Never had one kickback. And we get to this one grant, this one funding vehicle, and it is just a head spinner on how they get what they want, and it changes. We went from day one reimbursement request, 1-page invoice and 1 proof of payment. That's what they asked for. My last submission is 175 pages. That's 2 months that grew from, there was a room full of people that listened to this, that heard this. Okay, so you're telling me you need 1 invoice and 1 proof of payment. Yes, that's all we need. Now we're at 175 pages. So
Wow.
it just keeps growing. It's a monster. And really, it's just speculation. I just don't know if they were ready to spend this kind of money through federal grants. I don't know, because there's nobody you can call and say, hey, how do we do this? Nobody knows. Shocking.
And is Dawson will continue working
Run again.
Turn again.
or turn again,
turn.
excuse me, sorry. We are
Yeah.
talking about Dawson
Today, I think. Yes, yes. We're getting closer. It feels like we're getting closer. The list grew and then is shrinking now of what they want to see. So
Okay,
just keep doing the best we can.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Wish I had an answer.
Anybody else? Questions? Online questions? Wendy, Tom?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, go ahead.
I
Casey.
asked earlier, Kenny, I think answered it, but I thought you were here, so I might as well ask just about G float. There
Yes.
was some discussion about that, they might not let us, the end result is it's gonna be a little bit shorter than it was originally, is that right?
No,
Okay.
no. iFloat was shrunk a little bit
Mhm.
just because of draft issues. I think just a few feet instead of moving the whole package of floats to the north, we shortened I a little bit, and that gave us a little bit of room for for the end dock, you know, the ones that run east and west right there. So, but no, it's G float's not short, and it's
Okay.
1,000 feet long or
Mhm.
900 feet long or
So I
something.
thought that was the one, there was some, like, the Corps of, that's the transient flow, right? That the Corps of Engineers originally had.
That wasn't a length
was
issue.
the
That was a
channel on
east-west
side.
alignment issue.
Oh.
In the channel.
Mhm.
And so then they said, there was a moment where they said, you may not be able to put that in, but you know, like everything, they take it to the edge and then they say, oh, you're good. So no issues with that. The only float that was shortened from design, and Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, I think was that we moved for drafts.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor?
and that's all because you have a T float at the end, so you
Uh-huh.
put more boats on the other side and
Yep.
still have navigation between there and the breakwater.
Go ahead, Councilor Rainey.
Yeah, Colin, I had a question. I was talking with CTC and they said that the emergency phones are getting yanked out of there and there's not a plan to have emergency phones in anywhere in the harbor. Is that correct?
So, well, partially. So not, I mean, yanked. I mean, everything was yanked in the South Harbor. So there's no plan to put emergency phones on the docks. There's a plan to have them on the upland side along Nikoloff. I think there's one at each gangway. So that may be 3. I'd have to double check. But there's no plan to put them along the main walks. If CTC wants to, they can still run that that service, but that's not in the design.
Is there any way to calculate like what that cost was and what CTC would have to absorb if they put them back in?
Yeah, my ballpark right now, and I'd have to go over my numbers, but it was about 150,000. And when we decided to pull that out, it was because primarily there's no requirement for emergency phones on a facility like that. And then there was just no money for it. So, balancing what you can do, what you need to do, and that's just not something that made the cut.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for either? Doesn't look like it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Anything else, Sam? Is that it?
Nope, thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for Sam, the manager? Hey, clerk's report.
We're in the appeal period and I've had about 13 appeals so far. Talked to about 25 people. Last day to appeal is Friday at 5, April 5th. And the appeal forms are on our website or you can get them here at City Hall.
And I'd just like to add to that, that's the property taxes that she's talking about. This is an easy time of year to end up with that ex parte communications issue. If somebody comes and wants to talk to you about their taxes, we should be informing them to see the clerk, file an appeal. See if you can't work it out with the assessor. If you can't work it out with the assessor, then it'll come before the Board of Equalization and we'll discuss it at that time, but we shouldn't get into a great debate with them. I mean, you can talk in general terms, but anyway, be careful with the ex parte communications and just be prepared to disclose those if you do have any. Okay, thank you, Tina. Correspondence is listed in there with a couple of letters that we wrote. And the DOT's public open house on the Cordova Airport projects. Next Wednesday, 5 to 7:30 here. We encourage people that are interested to attend. I think they enjoy it when people attend. Sometimes they get as much audience participation as we get, but I think they want to and they have to put it out to the public, so they are interested indeed in what the public has to say. Ordinances, resolutions, resolution 03-2413, a resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, certifying the results of the March 5th, 2024 general election.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved and seconded, Councilmember Schaefer.
I am in support of the resolution, and I just want to thank Wendy and Dave for throwing their names into the ring and stepping up.
Councilmember Kinsman.
Yeah, I also thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Dave. Look forward to continually working with you, Wendy, and working with Dave. So pretty straightforward other than that.
Okay, anybody else have any comments they want to make regarding this? Okay, this is just a voice vote, yeah? All those in favor of resolution 03-2413, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries, and council, before you leave, there is a resolution that we need to sign certifying this over there with Tina, so before you leave, make sure you go sign your slot on that. Tom and Wendy, when you get back to town, if you could stop into the clerk's office and sign anything that needs to be signed. And welcome aboard, David. And you can come in anytime and see Tina or Susan. Susan's gone for about a week, I think, but see Tina to do the swearing in, read a card and sign it. And then you'll officially take Councilmember Schaefer's spot. So thanks for running. Thank everybody for running for the seats that they did. At least we did have one for each slot. I'd like to see a little more participation. It was pretty dismal turnout. Third lowest in 10 years.
Yeah,
Like
we
that
should
that
have
you
that
had.
here.
But yeah, 200 and whatever it was,
250.
12.5% of the voting
250.
members of the town is not a very good turnout, but then we didn't have too much controversy going on there. We need to throw something in there every year just to get people
Just
able
make
to
up a
show up.
ballot.
All right.
Okay, thank you. We don't have any unfinished business. So new and miscellaneous business, a pending agenda. Our Board of Equalization, that was 4:15.
Correct, and election of vice mayor.
We'll do the election of vice mayor at the next meeting. So think about who you want for that position. Anything else, Sam, we need to, does anything anybody wants to?
Did you
put on
get
there?
my email, week and a half ago about the ribbon cutting for the harbor?
Oh, yeah.
Get that on a
Yeah,
future agenda to talk about.
Yeah, Colin has been thinking through that and working through some things for that, so maybe we can get him to report on what his thoughts and to kind of work it out with the timeline down there
Yeah,
to be able to access the most
right.
of
I
whatever
was
we
just,
get.
wasn't sure if there was a time when the DC delegation and maybe around Nouveau-ish, they a lot of times come to town, might be,
Lisa's gonna be in town May 18th.
yeah,
May
something like
18th.
that.
I don't know if it's gonna be far enough along by then.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
When is November?
Docks will be
Is what?
floating.
Nouveau's June. I need to
Fifth,
look at a
eighth?
calendar.
I'm sure she'll be back.
8th-ish, the
Whatever that
Saturday,
is.
yeah.
I was just thinking, anything that we can get them down there and give them some
Yeah.
attaboys for
Yeah,
investing
yeah,
money, you know,
absolutely, yeah,
helps get us some
yeah.
favor for future projects, maybe. I don't know.
We'll see if we need to put that on the agenda, we will. Otherwise, I think we can probably just plan something.
Cool.
Anything else?
I I guess Title V, where are we at with that?
Yep, we are just regrouping.
Okay.
I think we talked about April-ish for getting that back on there before, or did we say March? Time's going by.
Exactly. I can't remember and I don't see it on here. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we have talked about it. We need to get Susan and I need to get back on track on it.
Because my understanding is Title V conversation, and then we can have a broader or maybe even more defined revenue conversation. I think that's what I followed the conversation. Title V needs to be finished up, then we can talk about additional revenue as far as,
And I think
what I'm tracking.
economic development too, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at probably the second meeting in April for that.
I think that's probably the most realistic right now.
no, that's fine. Because we need to have a conversation about revenue. So let's get this going and out of the way and because, yeah, we need money.
Anything else? Any agenda?
And then just since, I guess Susan isn't here, I've had conversation with her about
Oh, yeah.
just conversations about what was discussed last time with attendance, in-person attendance versus virtual attendance. And we're just looking for, thought it was more appropriate to get Dave on and have that conversation and get the ball rolling with that. So, I mean, sounds like end of April's gearing up pretty quickly already. So maybe 1st of May, somewhere in there, have that conversation. So, for attendance.
Yeah, she might be putting it on the April 3rd. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. And I've seen her twice at the airport in passing. So
It's definitely on the radar.
Yeah.
Yep,
she was
Near term.
thinking she was going to do it on this one. And I said, let's hold off till we get the new
Right.
council in
Yeah.
place. That seemed appropriate. So yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. Anything else? Last chance on the any agenda? Okay, audience participation. Anybody? We have Dave Zastro in the audience and our technician. So that's it. Okay, then, council comments. We'll start online. Councilmember Baylor.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Ann, it's been a pleasure working with you. I thought you've been very effective. I hope you'll considering taking a year off and coming back to council. You know, a lot of times when you take that time off and you come back with fresh eyes, you kind of see things differently, but it's been good working with you. We always haven't voted the same, and that's what I've liked about you. You brought your own perspective, and I think you've represented the community well. I mentioned that I've had a discussion with the mayor. I was the city representative for Piswak, and I'm just unable to perform that duty. They've gone to 2-day meetings, and it's in the fall and the spring when I'm traveling. You really need to have somebody that's going to be there to attend those meetings in person. It's 2 days on a phone is just not practical. So I've informed him that, you know, we need to probably look for somebody else for the fall meeting. So, you know, Mr. Jones and others that are in the fishing industry might think about somebody that would be a good representative and encourage them maybe to come forward when the mayor puts that out. And then just thank the staff and thank everybody for being there. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Rainey.
Yeah, Anne, thank you for all of your service. I'm sure you're relieved that that's not going to continue on indefinitely. But I do hope to see you come back again. It's been a pleasure with the short time I've been able to serve with you, but I also have supported you before I was on council as a council member. So I appreciate all your hard work with that. And just thanks to staff. I'm sorry I'm not there, but yeah, not really. So have a nice night.
Hey, thank you, Councilmember Carpenter.
Sure. I guess I'll just echo thanking Anne for her service. It's, I think I've said this before to some people. I always think it would be great if everybody in town took a turn so they could know what it takes and what it involves. But anyway, thank you for volunteering your time and your focus and your energy. It's much appreciated. And welcome to Dave to the council. And thank you, Wendy, for also coming back for another term and joining us. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Kinsman.
Yeah, so continue with that. Thank you, Ann. And it has been good serving and learning from you. So, but also on top of that, thank you, Wendy and Dave, again for stepping up. Appreciate it. Look forward to continuing to work and working with you both. I'm gonna go just because it's fresh on the mind and a little bit different side, and to follow up from what the mayor was saying from last night's work session with the city council, or with the school board, excuse me. Reiterating, just anyone who's listening, whoever's out there, please get some letters to the governor and legislature. And a lot of these letters can even be pretty templated letters. I mean, it's more about content, yes, but also just sheer volume is kind of what we're going for. So, and then just some things I wanted to highlight. That I know we end of last year went over kind of the collective bargaining agreement with the city. But I just wanted to highlight what was discussed at the school board. So the teacher staff, from their collective bargaining, from their representation, they took a 1% increase this year. Next year, 0% increase. And there's also district staff, that, those that I would say administrative, who are actually taking a complete pay freeze. So I just want that out there as we're thinking about where we're going to be spending money this next year as that comes up, that I'm definitely more inclined to have that conversation and look at them if they're making the sacrifice themselves, and taking that on, because that's especially with the cost of everything going up, they're willing to take those cuts and freezes for the sake of our children. And whether they're your direct children, your neighbor kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, whatever they are, they affect our whole entire community. So look forward to more conversations on how we can get creative to potentially get more funding to them, if that's what we need to do. Again, not saying we're a cash cow, we're not. But to know that there might be some creative options is good, to just keep that in our back pocket. So thanks for letting me talk about that a little bit. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones.
Thanks for all your service, Ann. It's been a pleasure. And welcome, Dave. Look forward to working with you and probably button heads from time to time, but that's what I'm good for. So look forward to having you at our table. And yeah, thanks everybody for coming out. Enjoy the spring weather.
And Councilmember Schaefer, you get the honors tonight.
Oh, man. Well, thank you all for the kind words. I've really enjoyed serving with all of you, even when we haven't always agreed. It's been civil and interesting discussion, so I really appreciate that. Big thank you to staff for answering all my questions and
We love questions.
providing me with more information when I needed it. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And thank you to just the Cordova community for allowing me to have this opportunity. I've learned a lot, and it is definitely a different perspective being on this side of the table than on the other. And the biggest thing is, I mean, it makes such a difference when we get community input, whether it's via email or phone calls or at the meeting. So it's so easy to send an email or, drop a line. So I encourage everyone to, read the packets, stay up to date on what's going on, and let council members know what you're thinking. So anyway, thank you all. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Wendy. And yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And we don't have an executive session. So there being no further business, we will be adjourned.
Woo.
And please sign that.
Oh.
If we have